Okay, and so that completes that question. Let me dive into the box and we'll get another one here.
Oh, thanks, Joe.
Okay.
I'm losing my.
All right, this one comes from someone I know, actually, Christiana Constant in Local 528. Is Christiana here? Oh, great. Nice to see you. Good. All right, and the question is, OPS members/employees just got a memo this week that a number of 3,400 public service jobs will be eliminated. What can OPSU do to assure us and our families that we will still have a job? Thank you. So let's see, the last first, who's on first? The last one was Jamie, now it'll be Smoky.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks for the question. Good question. I think we do a number of things. First off, you prepare for the worst. So that's job security, the MERC teams, the collective agreement. We enforce everything in there, right? We enforce everything in there. We get to the table. If they're really bound and bet, if there are going to be layoff notices issued, we try for factor 80s paid for by the employer. Let people go out with dignity and get a pension and save jobs for less senior folks. However, the real battle is what I talked about earlier. Taking on the agenda of corporate tax cuts, taking on the agenda, convincing our members that public services are important, convincing the public that public services are important, and convincing the government of the day that they need to properly fund public services. So we have challenges ahead of us. We didn't get decimated like the private sector did. We've done extremely well. Most of those have been through attrition. And the other thing I've raised with the media and with the government is you got way too many managers. So when was the last, anybody here know a manager that got laid off anywhere? I don't. So I've been drilling that. So the press is actually picking up on that. Andrea Horvath from the NDP is going to get on it. The Stars, excuse me, talked to me about it a couple of times. The Globe Mail called. So if we can get some of those cuts in those higher jobs, to get all those big bonuses, we can save our folks on the front line and pressure them to redirect that savings into frontline workers. So it's a nasty, nasty process. I would never want to get a layoff notice. I've never had one. I've been fortunate. But when a member gets it, we're there for them. We see it all the way through. We just won back some members that got divested. A few years ago, we fought. We won them back at the Grievance Settlement Board. So we will do everything we can. Sometimes it's not pretty, but we will do everything we can. Thank you.
Got the sidestep down now.
I'm learning.
Well, you know what? It's bad enough. You're right, sister. It's bad enough that it's the 3,400, but now the announcement, right? There's not, right? 1,400. And you know, today I've been on the phone with some of our folks in Owen Sound and Walkerton. You know, and what they were doing, they're already on the ground running. They're going to their local meeting. They're talking to their mayor, and they're saying, this is going to affect our community, not just because I'm losing my job. Right? Not because, it's about the family, because they're being told, and you're right, our OPSU does a fantastic job. We always have done a fantastic job getting and making sure people get into other jobs. But the problem is they pull them out of the communities. They have to move 100 kilometers, 200 kilometers, right? So we have to sit down, we have to hammer out those deals. But I think we can hold them into their communities still. We need to fight that fight. We need to push that. And Smokey, you're lucky. I've been laid off plenty of times, and I've other things also. Sorry, I'm not trying to load this up. So, just to let you know, I think the important thing is to make sure that within the communities we have to fight that fight. And if we lose that fight within that community, then we have to figure out what we're going to do. And that's right. The Mercs and the other teams out there, they're going to have to work on that. But that doesn't mean that we don't engage the membership and the communities. Thank you.
We almost need a traffic light back here.
Yeah, we do.
Christiana, thanks for the question. Many of you know, because I've told you I'm not shy about this, on November 5th of 2010, I got my layoff notice after 26 years of service. Fantastic situation to be in. It's very pleasant. I even got to lay myself off, which was even more exciting. I thought, okay, now I got to go to my own meeting, lay myself off, and give myself a new job. Thank goodness for my union, and thank goodness for seniority, because I had seniority. I was actually able to get a job, and so fortunately, for folks who have good collective agreements, we'll be able to fall back on those collective agreements. Sadly, there is simply no guarantee. 3,400 jobs, but 1,500 more on top of that have actually been announced. So, you know, in worse shape than ever. But the reality is that this whole issue of corporate tax cuts, if they hadn't bothered to give out the corporate tax cuts, well, guess what? They would have had money for all the services and all the programs and all the things that people really need. So again, the Invest in Ontario campaign that OPSU's been doing, and the member mobilizers that have been in all the workplaces doing all the work around this great campaign, the membership and the locals now have to take it to their locals. And again, it's about the strategy going forward. It's about moving this out to communities. It's about getting as much support as we can, not just from the people we work with, but from our friends and our families. Communities in the north are going to be in bigger trouble than ever. Again, the private sector, they've decimated locals and communities in the north. So if private sector jobs get lost, we're even in bigger trouble. And again, refer to the fellow in Windsor that I was talking to who said, my goodness, we don't use our jails. The jails aren't busy. For someone who works in mental health, I know where half my clients are, that's for sure. They're in the jail system. So this is a huge mistake. We have to push back on the government immediately to keep the jobs in the public sector so we can deliver good services to the rest of the public.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, I'm an OPS member. I've always been an OPS member going right back to 1981. I've served on a number of OPS bargaining teams, and I did it proudly. I can say that I've also been surplused as well twice. The first time I made them surplus me right at the bargaining table, and you talk about putting an employer in an awkward position because I had to go back and explain to my members why I was the president of a local being surplused. This is a collective agreement issue as well too. We're coming into bargaining here just around the corner. We just came through it, but it does come fast. What we need to do now is get our members out there and our activists to enforce the contract and collective agreements. And hopefully we can do some of the stuff through attrition, and as Smokey said, factor 80s and moving on like that. Region 5 is the largest OPS contingent of members in Ontario. It's bigger than all the other regions. And so it's a huge problem for us not anywhere else because this is where our members are. And the OPS has been shrinking. And we need to make sure that we don't have any more loss in this region because, well, I remember when the OPS was roughly 40,000 members, and I think we're down to around 12 or 15,000 or something now. The numbers keep going lower and lower all the time. I have the experience in the OPS to actually work with you as members of the OPS as well as other areas, and I offer my offer to you. I'll be there for you, and I'll be fighting the fight. And I think what we need to do is actually get out together, and as I said, mobilize the members, educate the public. That's huge, and that's always the argument too. How much do you spend on the media versus spending on our members? But I think at the end of the day, we can do this. We've always pulled it off. We've taken on the governments before and won and beat them. Why not do it again? Thank you.